Here we go.
Cool. Welcome to the Women in Leadership Body, Mind, Soul, and Business podcast. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Heather. Together, we are working to connect women in leadership and business to build relationships, empower each other, improving the health and wellness of our community, body, mind, and soul.
Today, in honor of Veterans Day and the upcoming holiday season, when symptoms seem to be triggered the most, we're having a very unique special focus on PTSD and depression.
November 11th, which is tomorrow, is Veterans Day. And as such, we are educating ourselves to create more awareness around PTSD in our community. We are not doctors. We cannot diagnose or treat any ailment. That's not what this is going to be. If you or someone you know are struggling, we can recommend you seek professional help and provide links and resources in the description on our link tree. If you are in an emergency situation, please remember to dial 911. They're there to help you. So, shall we get this started?
We should get this started.
All right, Charlie, can you please define what actually PTSD is?
Yeah. So PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay. Remember, we're not doctors. We cannot diagnose or treat anything we talk about today. We're just going to talk about it. Okay. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to those resources, call your doctor, call 911. Whatever it is you need to do. PTSD actually describes a pattern of symptoms that have become debilitating enough for the person who is suffering from PTSD for them to feel limited in their capacity to fully live their life. Okay. These symptoms that emerge as your body and mind attempt to cope with shocking and stressful life events that you've experienced.
So is PTSD just for military and combat veterans?
No, actually, any person can suffer from PTSD. There's a multitude of ways that people are traumatized throughout their life and daily living that can result in symptoms of PTSD. So it's not exclusively for military or combat vets.
As I definitely have personally learned,
Right?
right? Definitely. Really acknowledging that this is a thing and giving myself grace around it has really helped my life, like really.
Yeah, and the more you learn, the more you grow, right?
Yes.
And you're like, oh, well, that's why it's this way.
So what are the symptoms of PTSD?
You may be experiencing PTSD if something distressing has happened in your life and you are having trouble sleeping, finding yourself overly emotional, or numb to your emotions, feeling on guard or like protecting yourself all the time, experiencing painful memories that don't fade, living with constant sense of fear, avoiding places, people, or things that remind you of the distressing event. These symptoms are your body's way of simply coping with those events. Different types of symptoms. It affects each person uniquely and differently. Not everybody is a carbon copy. You know, PTSD isn't one size fits all, right? So it's unique to your own situation.
So everyone experiences trauma in our own unique way. Therefore, the PTSD is shown in a different way for each person.
Correct.
That's how you're saying it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
So some of the different types of symptoms are arousal symptoms, which is simply reliving the event in some way. They can be in dreams, memories, you know, you can see something that triggers those memories, but it's reliving the event in some way. Also numbing, lack of interest in things or people that you used to enjoy. Maybe you used to enjoy going out and doing stuff and interacting with people, but now you find yourself a lot more of a hermit. That can also be a symptom of PTSD. Avoidance symptom, you know, avoidance like isolation, staying away again, you know, becoming a recluse, you know, and that's not to say that you need to be a social butterfly either. You know, that just means that things you used to enjoy or that you normally would enjoy, you're struggling with, right? And it's not all the time either. It could, come and go. These symptoms can come and go. Vigilance. You're on guard, you're easily startled, you're like
Hyper focused
hyper
on
focused
something.
Yeah.
Is it a sound? Is it a number? Is there something in particular that you're being hyper vigilant about?
Right. And then I have actually a quick self-test for PTSD in the book IREST, the IREST program for healing PTSD from Dr. Richard Miller, who actually works with the military using the tools of IREST, which is Yoga Nidra. And Yoga Nidra is sleeping yoga. And it'll make a lot more sense as we go on. But the different types,
And we are including a link and all the words of that title, because it's a big title,
it is a big title.
in our description for this podcast. So you can look it up. And if this is something you are needing help with, this book is really great. I noticed that Charlie has a lot of flags.
It's a really great resource.
And there's lots of things highlighted. So this is something that has really helped and has really good information. Very, very, very good information.
Yeah.
To help.
I came across this book when I was doing yoga teacher training, because as a veteran myself and as someone who deals with PTSD myself, I use yoga as a way to self-therapize myself. And I didn't know it was an actual thing. The IREST program through the military is somewhat new and not well known even in military circles. But this book has been a really vital tool for me in my growth and healing from my symptoms of PTSD. I can recognize those triggers and things now where before I couldn't. So quick self-test for PTSD. If you have a paper, or maybe you just want to put up a finger for each one of these, you may or may not have. It's totally up to you.
There's that fun thing on TikTok where you're like, put a finger up if.
Yep.
This is one of those things, put a finger up with, but you know what it's about. So we're not surprising you or taking you off guard. Okay.
Right. So, arousal symptoms. Mark on your paper if this is true for you, or put up a finger if I have trouble falling or staying asleep. I feel irritable or experience outbursts of anger. I have troublesome memories, thoughts, or images of the traumatic event. I have thoughts that frighten me. There are times when it feels like the traumatic event is happening again. I experience nightmares or bad dreams. There are times when I black out or can't remember things. I have difficulty concentrating. I have difficulty keeping my attention focused. I have trouble remembering things that are important to me. I have difficulty learning new things. I have physical reactions like heart pounding, trouble breathing, sweating, when something in my environment, such as sounds, smells, sights, etc., remind me of the traumatic event. Numbing symptoms. I feel a lack of interest in activities I used to enjoy. I feel emotionally numb. I seem unable to have loving feelings for those close to me. I feel distant or cut off from other people. I feel emotionally dead inside. I experience feelings of guilt, shame, depression, or worry. I have difficulty making plans for the future. I feel that I won't live as long as I might have before the trauma. Avoidance. I avoid people who remind me of the traumatic event. I avoid places that remind me of the traumatic event. I avoid activities that remind me of the traumatic event. I avoid objects that remind me of the traumatic event. I avoid thinking, talking, or feeling about things that remind me of the traumatic event. Vigilance. I feel highly alert, watchful, or on guard. I feel jumpy or easily startled by noises, smells, etc. Now count your total number of symptoms checked from all 4 categories. And then also, what is the total number of symptoms checked in the categories above that you experience daily? Now here's the kicker, okay? If you checked a minimum of 1 symptom that you continually experience daily and have 5 symptoms that cause you distress, you have been experiencing this, and you have been experiencing these symptoms for a minimum of 1 month, then chances are you're experiencing PTSD. Again, if you suspect that you have PTSD, please consult with a qualified medical doctor or mental health practitioner to get a thorough assessment so that with their help, you can properly plan a course of treatment for yourself.
We're going to talk about that today.
We are going to talk about that today.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
I mean, to think of it, you only 1 symptom and then for a month, like, I mean, medical, car accidents,
Mhm.
situations that are stressful can cause it. Like,
Mhm.
like if you
Sexual trauma, right?
Absolutely.
Abusive relationships, just there's a number of things that can cause trauma, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be one singular event. It can be a multitude of things that all pile on together to create that trauma.
Yes. And I see Charlie's hands going,
I'm
stacking on top of
stacking.
each other. She's talking with her hands. Like, and it's not just like one, like you're saying. So it's like, so you have this one stressor and then you have another one and then you have another one and then you have another one. And I know as women in business, we take on a lot.
Mhm.
And if this is something that needs to be on our radar, that's why we're having this conversation. Like, this is going to help us and our families.
Right.
So.
And this is, we're doing this special to get the information out there because there's a lot more people that suffer from trauma than you would realize. And there's many, many, many forms of trauma.
It's very personal.
It is very personal.
Because what is traumatic to me might not be traumatic to you.
Correct.
So it has to do with our very personal experiences, and nobody can invalid that experience. You are valid for your experience. So how does PTSD affect our bodies?
Okay, so PTSD affects the body in many different ways. Gastrointestinal complaints, immune system problems, other physical illnesses have links to PTSD. Okay, other symptoms can include headaches, migraines, body aches, phantom pain, and emotional and cognitive challenges.
Oh my goodness.
Right? It's like you can't think straight when you're having
and the studies are really coming out showing too the connection between our gut microbiome.
Mhm.
That's my world, right? I'm all about the gut health right now.
The wellness.
And wellness. I just can't even believe that the foundation of cells starts in our gut to help our brain, and then they're even finding more and more connection to the brain gut. And sorry, I'm so excited. I was like, where did I go with that? Okay. So when we're using things like antibiotics, we're messing up our natural microbiomes. And then I'm finding it more and more fascinating that we can improve those microbiomes and then have a positive effect.
Mhm.
Like the cause and effect of, I'm really being able to see that cause and effect of what we're eating and how it's affecting more and more of brain health. Sorry to interrupt. Definitely.
Right. Well, the gut microbiome definitely has a great foundation in helping people with their whole body and being able to really bring that health and wellness throughout the body from the inside out.
I
So
mean,
thank you
because
for
how
sharing.
else are you going to heal migraines, body aches, phantom pains? I mean, they're coming from somewhere. Like
Mhm.
somewhere is holding that memory.
Mhm.
And so we got to nourish somewhere. That's how I think about it. Our food needs to nourish us.
Mhm.
And that's how I think about it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So, that being said, how does PTS specifically affect our mind, the
Uh,
cognitive function of our minds?
Well, it does affect cognitive function, memory loss, brain fog. I have another little bit of reading here for you. Sorry. Should have. And it's your resilient brain, right? Research shows that when you experience long-term PTSD, your brain undergoes changes that cause you to experience an increase in negative emotions and thoughts, diminish your concentration and memory, and decrease your ability to understand the results of your actions. Okay. There's a bunch of study information in this book also. Fortunately, researchers have also discovered that your brain can change as a result of your life experiences and can reestablish new and healthy connections between your existing brain cells, as well as grow new and healthy brain cells. Okay.
Wow.
As you heal your symptoms of PTSD, your brain grows new neural pathways and healthy cells. It's as a result, you gain increased control over your thoughts and emotions. Your concentration and memory increase. Your ability to understand the results of your actions also increases, as does your ability to take productive and positive actions in your life. Okay. And
Resilient brain.
resilient brain. We have very resilient brains. We have very resilient bodies. Our cells are regenerating all the time. Our brain can create new neural pathways. And the way that, and we'll get into this a little bit more, but the way that the treatments for PTSD work is they work with finding those triggers and creating new neural pathways through various means of treatment. There's
So what I'm hearing when you say that is, if you are a person that's in that moment, in that darkness and that hopeless feeling, there really is a light at the end of the tunnel.
There
and
really
we would
is a light
love
at
to
the
show
end of
you
the
how to get there.
Yeah.
So recreating neural, so every brain is resilient.
Every
So
brain is
I want
resilient.
every person to hear that your brain is resilient. That's heavy. That's
Yeah.
really awesome.
Yeah.
Very awesome.
Resilient. And you can learn anything you want to learn. You can work through anything you need to work through because your brain is so resilient.
That is so awesome. So what does it look like for someone to be treated for PTSD? What does that look like?
There are many different treatments for PTSD, and new ones are being developed as we speak. The best treatment is one that works for you and your specific needs. However, you want to make sure that you're doing what's right for you and your body. And if you need, desire, or seek that medical help, please, please, please do so, because they might have resources that I don't even know of yet. Okay. All treatments that support the healing of PTSD work by changing your relationship with your traumatic experience and symptoms of PTSD. It's retraining your brain. Conventional treatments for PTSD include cognitive behavioral therapy, autogenics, progressive muscle relaxation, the relaxation response, eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing, and exposure therapy. Okay. And then the type of therapy that I use for myself is Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is an ancient meditation-based form of treatment and healing. Like other forms of treatment and healing, IRS or Yoga Nidra works directly by changing the sensory, cognitive, and emotional symptoms that keep your PTSD in place.
Wow.
It's
Can you
retraining.
Can you say that again?
IRS Yoga Nidra works directly by changing the sensory, cognitive, and emotional symptoms that keep your PTSD in place.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
Really cool.
So meditation programs like IRS or Yoga Nidra are shown to bring about deep relaxation while also producing healthy changes in the structure of your brain, stimulating healing and tissue repair, and providing you self-care skills for changing negative emotions and thoughts into positive ones, right? The power of habit. In practical terms, IREST or Yoga Nidra is a meditative practice that enables you to heal the memories, emotions, and beliefs that are signs of your PTSD. IREST provides you with the self-care tools you need to navigate your daily life and restore your inner sense of ease and well-being.
Restore your
brain.
Your brain, your resilience. You are resilient.
You are
That
resilient.
Is so
and
awesome.
We're going to work on restoring the brain.
So now that we know a lot more about PTSD through this conversation, Charlie, would you mind sharing a little bit more about your personal experiences with PTSD?
Yeah. My personal experiences with PTSD. Okay, so not only do I have PTSD, but so does my husband. Okay, my husband is a combat vet. My PTSD does not stem from being a combat vet. Okay, it is from my time in the military. However, it is not combat related. So I want you guys to understand that not all military veterans with PTSD have combat related PTSD. My husband does, and it has affected our family greatly. He is limited on the places he can work. He's limited on because of traveling. He doesn't do well when he has to travel over bridges, over water.
Things that remind him of being unsafe in those unsafe places.
Correct. So if there's like dirt turned up on the side of the road or debris on the side of the road, which we see all the time, that triggers him. Okay. If he's stuck in traffic, he's very confined. So if
anybody doesn't know, we live in Western Washington, and so I giggle because Seattle traffic is notorious, right?
Right. Seattle traffic is notorious for not being great, right? It's almost as bad as LA, right? So if he gets stuck in traffic and he's stuck on a bridge, right? Have you ever been stuck in traffic on a bridge? The road vibrates. Okay. And that vibration in the road does not do well for his PTSD, right? For obvious reasons, right?
Well, it's going to shake up everything. Mm-hmm. Like the bridge itself is going to vibrate. I mean, even without being a combat veteran, I was like, that's uneasy as a human on the bridge. Like, well, this feels really weird.
Right.
But then you add in being in situations where when your vehicle's doing this, mm-hmm. people are firing shit at you. Oops, excuse me. Right. Yes.
Yeah. So the experiences that he had when he was in the desert have triggered these physical and emotional reactions here in the US, where he's fairly safe. We can't say perfectly safe, right? Because we thought we were in the safest place in the world before September 11th. Now we know that's not true, right? He deals with his PTSD in a way that has really limited a lot of things for our family. He also works swing shifts, so he doesn't have to work with as many people. It's not as crowded. For the first 6 years after he got back, we couldn't go shopping at the mall. We might go once a year now, and definitely not around Christmas time.
Well, and now the mall is like way less of a thing than it used to be because of everything else that's happened in the world.
And it was the same thing with the grocery store for a long time. I had to do all the shopping and the grocery shopping and things like that. And even though he has been doing therapy and things like that in order to help, he still sometimes has issues around crowds, traffic, bridges, are a big thing for him.
So this is just your husband's PTSD.
Yeah.
We haven't even
talked about mine yet.
about what you personally are dealing with.
Yes. Okay.
So
not only do I worry about him,
and
I have
that's
to
one
take
of
care
those
him,
things,
right?
as being a woman, is we support our family, right?
We do.
We do the things we need to do to help our families.
Mhm.
And that is loving each individual with all of the things that makes them them.
Right.
And so sometimes when someone has more things going on than, say, average, quote unquote, I'm using air quotes, I'll think of them as like a multiple person. So it's like you have your husband and then you have your husband with PTSD. So he's like two people. So now you have two husbands you're dealing with.
Right. And
you think about how that energy, how much space that takes up in your life. And, sometimes you're like, why am I so exhausted? Because you're actually working with more people than you think you're working with physically.
Right. And, and then I have to deal with my own PTSD on top of dealing with him and his PTSD, right? So this is a dual PTSD family. My PTSD comes from MST, which is military sexual trauma. There were things that happened when I was active duty that were not okay with me and my body. As such, I don't necessarily like being touched, or at least I didn't used to. And there's certain types of touch that I, appreciate, and other types that just, don't.
Still triggering.
Are still very triggering. In a lot of my dealings with people and healing, in my process of healing, I for many years after getting out of the military, I didn't want to work with men. I was afraid to work with men. It was very fear-based because of the things that I went through when I was active duty. Okay. And unfortunately, the military is a very misogynistic place. It is a boys' club. And there's not a lot of space being held for women in high regard. That's why many of the women who go into the military do like one term of service, maybe two, and then they get out. You don't see very many women staying to retirement. And I think a lot of that has to do with the sexual harassment, military sexual trauma. And not to say that men don't experience those things as well, because they do. And their feelings are absolutely valid, and what they've been through is absolutely valid. But it's different for women. It is very different for women.
And it's okay to hold space to talk about your experience, not having to hold space for someone else's experience right now. So it's okay for you. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing with us.
Yeah, this is a very vulnerable topic for both of us.
Yeah.
And for my family. So thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate that. So how I have dealt with my own self, a lot of it was within my own body, right? So then having to deal with those physical things as well as the relationship issues that these things cause has been a long path of healing that I'm still on. And I've been out of the military for almost 13 years now, and I'm still dealing with these things on a regular basis. It is still very real for me. And as dealing with PTSD and people who deal with PTSD on a regular basis, thank you, I got a tissue, is that it's real. It's what they go through on a regular basis. And it doesn't necessarily go away, but you learn how to use tools in order to deal with that. So I'm going to
Using
go
our
over
tools, using our resources.
right. So I'm going to go over, there's 10 tools of iRest Yoga Nidra, and I'm just going to read you the 10 tools right now. Affirming your heartfelt mission, right? Your heartfelt mission is your inner compass of core values that provides purpose and meaning in your life. Okay. This is all things that help you heal. Second, affirming your intention. Intentions are statements of fact and actions that are guiding forces in your life. Okay. What is your intention? What is your, you're going to go in this direction. And what is the intent of that? Affirming your inner resource. Your inner resource is an inner refuge of constant stability, safety, and well-being. Your inner resource enables you to weather all difficulties you encounter and heal your PTSD and move through your life. So your inner resource is your higher power. Okay, whatever that looks like for you, you carry that inner resource with you everywhere you go. That higher power, everywhere you go, it's right in your heart, and there's, it's always there. You always have that tool with you. Practice body sensing. Okay, body sensing helps you experience deep relaxation.
Oh,
and we're actually going to do a body sensing meditation as part of our practice today. Okay, practicing breath sensing. Breath sensing further enhances deep relaxation and well-being through easy to learn and easy to practice breathing patterns. So a lot of the times when we get stressed out, we look at each other and we're like, okay, stop.
Put things down.
Put things down.
Let's take
Deep
some breaths
breath
together.
And really that is a tool for calming the body. And, my challenge this lately has been anytime you're at a stop sign, red light, or or anything like that, just take a few deep breaths.
We need to remember to challenge ourselves.
We do need to remember.
When we're
haven't
driving
really
around.
driven around a whole lot. We don't have a whole lot of stoplights out here in the woods of the Pacific Northwest where we live, but
so when you're taking a deep breath, you're actually taking the oxygen from your flight or flight place in your brain and bringing oxygen to the front of your brain. So when you're in fight or flight, we call it a flipped lid. And so in my family, what that looks like is we take our hand and we put it up and we put our thumb towards the middle of our palm and we put our fingers over our thumb. So when our hand is closed, it's like the thumb is protected by the hand. And when you flip your lid, you don't have any oxygen going over and protecting your thumb. So we'll actually be like, my lid is flipped, and we'll put the hand up and 4 fingers up instead of protecting. And then that's something my son and I have used to be like, mom is done. She cannot process anymore at this moment. My son is done. He can't process anymore at this moment. We need to step back and take a break and breathe and calm down. And it's been a really good tool for that. So I call it the flip the lid.
I like that. That's good to remember. Number 6 is welcoming opposites of feeling and emotion. Now this one's key. Okay. We can't just experience the good stuff without experiencing the bad stuff, right? That's not how
life has got good and bad. Right. There's a balance for both.
So learning to welcome opposites of feeling and emotion teaches you how to respond to negative and positive emotions and actions that empower and give you a sense of control in your life. Okay. So you have to deal with the negative emotions as well as the positive ones. You can't just ignore the things that hurt.
Drop in and feel it.
Drop in and feel it. And it's okay to feel those things. And I can't tell you how many times I have cried on my yoga mat, because that is my safe place. And to work through those emotions and those feelings. And I invite you to find your own safe place to have those feelings and emotions, so find yourself a safe place to do that. Number 7, welcoming opposites of thought. Learning to welcome opposites of thought teaches you how to respond to negative and positive thoughts, images, and memories so that you feel empowered and control in your life. So
that is cool, because I actually have friends that I know always have the opposite opinion of me, and I will go ask them just to exercise my brain. Like, I need to know what the other side is thinking. Like, I'm way over here, I know they're way over there, I should meet them in the middle, but I don't understand how their brain works. So I actually have friends, and we know that about each other, that we think differently. And we'll meet up with a lot of times it's about parenting things, because you really have to be careful who you choose to talk to about your parenting choices sometimes. And I like to get an opposite opinion about parenting things sometimes.
Yeah, and sometimes it's nice to challenge your current thought process to see if you can improve upon it. Okay, so a lot of us get stuck in our own heads, and we get stuck with the beliefs that we were told to
I would
believe
never
as
get
we
stuck
were
in
growing
my
up.
own head, Shirley. What are you talking about?
Right? Okay, so we do get stuck in our own heads. So being able to welcome opposites of thought, I think, is a huge thing in what the world needs right now.
Absolutely.
Okay, we need to be able to listen to each other's opinions and experiences, and not necessarily judge them. Okay, going on. Number 8, welcome joy and well-being. Joy and well-being are your birthright. Let me say that again. Joy and well-being are your birthright.
You deserve it just because you're here. No other reason at all.
Okay. Yoga Nidra teaches you how to access the power of joy, well-being, and inner peace in every moment in your life, no matter your circumstance. Okay. And then number 9, experiencing being awareness. Okay. Yoga Nidra teaches you how to take a step back and observe your thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Emotions and circumstances from a broader viewpoint, so you can recognize empowering actions that keep you in connection and on course with yourself, others, and your life. Experiencing being awareness enables you to understand and experience your wholeness with all of life. Okay, so I use this one all the time, because when I have a negative reaction to something, I really try to take a step back and see the bigger picture, because as we've learned through Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 agreements, don't take anything personally. Nothing other people do or say is because of you. Okay. And that's really important to remember.
It is so important to remember.
So taking a step back from a situation when you have a reaction and being like, oh, whoa, hold the horses. Let me reevaluate this. Why did I react that way? That's not how I wanted to react. Because, as parents, as women, as business people, we tend to react, and sometimes that reaction is very negative. And it stems from other things, right?
Sometimes you really don't vibe with something. And sometimes that clash is huge. And that's scary.
It is scary.
Especially when you've been working on it for a little while, and then it just slams in your face. You're like, where did that come from? I didn't even know that was still in me. So being aware and going, whoa, and being able to stop yourself even in that reaction it's a huge growth tool too.
Yeah. And one of the things I've learned to do, because my negative reaction for a long time was not great, right? I would snap at my kids, I'd snap at my husband. But when I started using these tools, I was able to separate myself from the moment, from the trigger, and be like, whoa, okay, sorry, that's not what I meant. That's not how I feel. I'm, and I'd go back and I would apologize to my kids and my husband or whoever was involved because of my negative reaction. Because they felt that negative reaction, and it gave them an emotional reaction to my own crap, right? And then the last tool of iRest is number 10 is experiencing your wholeness. Okay. Experiencing your wholeness helps you recognize how every situation arrives paired with its perfect response. Experiencing your wholeness helps you recognize how every situation arrives paired with its perfect response. Recognizing and responding with your perfectly paired response allows you to experience true healing, health, harmony, and well-being in yourself, your relationships, and with all of life.
Wow.
So these are the tools of iRest.
I think too, when you say experience your wholeness, I want people to not think they're not whole.
That is correct.
And I think that's something that we talked about.
We are all whole human beings.
These things happen to you, but they're not all that you are.
Correct.
There are things that happen to you, but you're not actually broken. Well, you might be missing pieces. I don't have a belly button.
But that doesn't mean that you're not whole.
Mean that I'm not whole.
You are whole. You are an entire spirit. You are an entire light of awareness. Even if you have experienced trauma in a physical form that, you've had surgeries, you're missing pieces. I have several friends who have been amputated here or there, whatever, but they are still a whole person.
Yes.
Once
it's important that you hear that part and really feel it. You are still a whole person.
You are still a whole person, regardless of your trauma, regardless of your physicality, regardless of your socioeconomic status, race, creed, religion, color. You are a whole person, and you deserve to be treated like a whole person, and you deserve to be healed like a whole person.
Thank you so much for sharing so deeply, Charlie.
Yeah. And Heather, you have also experienced symptoms of PTSD and things like that. And what has that looked like for you and your family?
Well, first I had to acknowledge that I have experienced PTSD. I really had it in my head, in my own thoughts, that I couldn't have PTSD because I'm not a military veteran, that I didn't deserve to have PTSD, that I feel like that's the honored for military. Like that is how I always viewed PTSD. And I didn't realize until I think talking with you that even if I said I had PTSD, I still had that image in my head that, okay, sure, that was a PTSD experience or whatever. But I really dismissed it as something that I needed to work on.
Because for you, it feels like stolen valor.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I shouldn't have that label because that is an honored place, like somebody that has done things for our country that I couldn't do.
Right. But
through our research and through knowing Charlie, I learned that I have medical PTSD. I have PTSD around housing and being homeless. I have PTSD from abusive relationships. And my child also has PTSD. The way that he views things, he's very stuck in his trauma. And acknowledging the PTSD piece has been really huge for both of us. And really got to challenge use of my tools.
Right.
This last September is a hard month for me, and I didn't know why until we did the deep dive. And I became homeless in the month of September. I have paperwork I have to do because of where we live in the month of September that has to do with our housing. So, and then I also added in medical trauma
Mhm.
because I had major surgery this September
Mhm.
and it didn't go as planned. So I woke up and we had everything done, which was great. It's great. I didn't have to go back for surgery, but it was still very disorientating.
Right. And the trauma from your previous experience.
And I think the trauma going back to when I lost my belly button 16 years ago, going home with such a large wound and having to see that wound after being in the hospital for 20 days approximately, I you forget that there's going to be these triggers. So
Mhm.
when I get home and the doctor's like, oh, you need to get in the shower, and I get in the shower and I lose my ever loving mind because all I can remember is the first time I took a shower and I had to see my enormous wound where I didn't have a belly button. That's where I was. I mean, and so I was excited today because part of my tools is to have a conversation with somebody while I'm in the shower. And I was like, the best shower ever because I wasn't stuck in my head.
Deep breath.
PTSD for me freezes me. I can only deal with the stress that is literally right in front of me. So if I don't make a list of what the next thing I need to do is, if I can literally just be frozen in a moment. Like I could lose a couple of days easily and not make any progress,
Mhm.
even if I'm the one that's supposed to be making the progress on a situation. So for me, I know that the depression piece has been big, and I know that I've had lots of depression. I mean, nobody is
Right.
going to say, hey, you've been homeless and not had
Because we all know what
depression.
goes well with PTSD, and that's depression.
Oh my
okay?
gosh, I didn't even realize that was our next.
Rude.
Wow, look at that.
Natural conversation, right?
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So depression is another big piece of PTSD. And we're going into the winter season, which is a dark time, you know, for nature, but it's also, going through the holidays and stuff like that brings up a lot of triggers for people. And it also brings with it a lot of depression. The holidays are
So let's talk
huge.
about what depression is. So
Yes.
depression it's defined as a constant feeling of sadness and loss of interest, which stops you from doing normal activities. Different types of depression with symptoms ranging from relatively minor to severe. Generally, depression does not result from a single event, but from a mixture of events and factors. So again, it's the layering on of things. And this, when we're going into a holiday season, sometimes that includes family traumas.
Mhm.
So like we have to have, are you creating trauma for yourself around being perfect for the holidays? Because we need it to be exactly right so that so and so isn't upset, or there's all sorts of things that go into the holidays that could create this for yourself. So signs and symptoms of seasonal depression disorder may include feeling depressed most of the day, nearly every day, losing interest in activities once again. So that's something you could check in with family about, like, have you noticed me not doing stuff? Or like if you're not sure, like, because sometimes we're so focused where we think we're doing just fine, but our family members close to us can see it. Having low energy, having problems sleeping, experiencing changes in appetite or weight, feeling sluggish or agitated, having difficulty concentrating, feeling of hopeless, worthlessness, or feeling guilty, having frequent thoughts of death or suicide.
Okay. Fall and winter seasonal affective depression symptoms specific to winter onset seasonal affective depression, sometimes called winter depression, may include oversleeping, appetite changes, especially a craving for foods high in carbohydrates, weight gain, again, back to the carbs, right?
Right.
And
It's so
tiredness
interesting
and low
'cause
energy, which is
tiredness and
also
loneliness.
food.
I also learned that our carbs are what are storing, crap, I forgot it. Okay, appetite changes. I forgot it. There's when we eat the carbs, they're storing those like bad emotions.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
so we're actually like feeding it and then storing it on our bodies for it to come back up for us. So that was interesting. And I did not know that seasonal depression disorder was not just winter.
No, it's not just winter.
I had no idea. So this was really surprising me that there is a summer and spring and summer version of SAD, specifically summer onset seasonal affective disorder, sometimes called summer depression, may include trouble sleeping, more insomnia instead of the oversleeping, poor appetite, weight loss, agitation or anxiety.
Okay, be consistent with telling your doctor what you need and what you are experiencing. Okay, because depression is a big deal. Okay, so if you are struggling, if you are having a hard time, do go to your doctor. It's normal to have a physical exam, possible blood work. The doctor is going to ask you a lot of questions and make you complete a questionnaire. Answer them honestly, not how you think you should answer them.
Right. Don't answer for someone else or because you feel like you will be judged.
Right.
This is one time where you can be completely honest.
Right. And getting the right treatment is super important if you are suffering from depression or PTSD. Don't be alarmed by the process. Okay. This is how they decide if you need some medication, some support versus treatment with light therapy, psychotherapy.
So light therapy is pretty interesting. You sit a few feet from a special light box. It has special UV rays, and what it does is the bright light within the first hour of waking up every day kind of mimics that outdoor appearance and helps your brain chemicals, and then that is linked to improved mood. So that is so cool that light can be so helpful. Types of talk therapy are also known as cognitive behavioral therapy. You identify changes in negative thoughts and behaviors, and then identify and change negative thoughts and behaviors that may making you feel worse. So it helps you with the triangle of our thoughts create our emotions and our emotions create our actions. So it helps you with that triangle. So learn healthy ways to cope with your seasonal depression, especially reducing avoidance behavior and scheduling activities. So don't allow yourself to avoid going to something, but also don't be afraid to say no. Right. I think there's a really fine line there. Like you need to go to enough things that you're feeling connected, but not so much that you're overwhelming yourself.
Correct. You only have so many spoons a day, use them wisely, but at the same time, make sure you're taking good care of yourself.
And lastly, learning to manage your stress plays a huge part in your mental health.
Right. And that brings us to the mind-body connection. Okay. So examples of mind-body techniques that some people may choose to try to help cope with seasonal depression include relaxation techniques such as yoga or Tai Chi, meditation, guided imagery, right? Which is another kind of form of meditation, right? Guided imagery, and music or art therapy
I love
is
that
huge.
because crocheting, I know, is a huge part of dealing with stress and anxiety for me, and the counting that's associated helps calm my brain down. I was like, interesting when I learned the psychology about why I'm doing these things as a tool. It's very interesting.
Yeah. And coloring.
Oh, yeah.
Coloring has become a huge part of therapy. There's adult coloring books everywhere. You can find some really funny ones, some with swear words, some with, just to find something that works for you.
The actual act of coloring and going back and forth on the page actually balances your brain out. Just kind of like when a little kid's crawling and they have their right left at their hands, and they're seeing that helps with like reading when they're older, because you're going right left brain, and that coloring creates that same back and forth action. Also, that's a rapid eye movement technique where they're moving things back and forth from eye to eye. So it's all kind of the same therapeutic realm. Some of it is just, I need to relax, and some of it is the other realm where you need a professional to help you through it. That's so cool.
Right.
So how does yoga and meditation combat the effects of PTSD? Charlie, could you go into that?
Yeah, yoga and meditation come with many benefits. They both increase positive neurotransmitters in the brain. This helps you to improve your coping mechanisms and helps reduce stress. Okay. Yoga and meditation focus on controlling breathing techniques, chanting mantras, moving or holding your body still in positive positions, and much more. These are all ways to signal your brain to relax, which helps reduce the symptoms of PTSD. And we are actually going to practice real quick a quick meditation. So if you are driving, please be safe, pull over to the side, or just listen along with your eyes open. And, just please be safe. Okay. Let's take a few nice, slow, deep breaths. Settle into your seat, sit up nice and tall. If you're sitting in a chair, put both feet on the floor. Okay, sitting up nice and tall. We're gonna move for a minute. So you're gonna hear some noise.
Making me put my feet on the floor.
Okay. Okay, this is the first practice in the iRest Yoga Nidra book. Experiencing yourself as sensation. With your eyes open, soften your jaw and allow your shoulders, arms, torso, and legs to relax. Welcome the environment around you as you allow your senses to open to the sounds and perceptions around you. Notice objects around you as well as your arms, torso, and legs. Note how your senses and mind working together perceive the world around you as made up of separate objects. Note how your body also appears as separate from the objects around you. Now, as long as you are not driving, close your eyes and sense your body. Notice how your body is actually a field of sensation that is without a defined border or boundary. A continuation of sensation that extends inwardly and outwardly in all directions. With your eyes still closed, sense the objects around you. Notice how they too don't have defined borders. How each in reality is also a field of sensation. Now open your eyes and continue experiencing yourself and the objects around you as fields of sensation. Take your time. Just sensing rather than thinking. Allow the field that is your body to begin to blend with the fields of each object so that everything blends together as one field of sensation. Notice how this affects your mind and body. As you're ready, gently bring movement back to your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes and your arms and legs as you continue to sense your body and the objects around you as a blended and continuous field of sensation. Feel how this practice affects your state of relaxation as you move back into your wide awake state of consciousness and going back to move out into the world.
Thank you so much, Charlie.
And a few other things that really help fight the symptoms of PTSD, seasonal depression, and things like that are vitamins and supplements, natural remedies, and things like that. And Heather's going to tell us a little bit about those.
So I looked up, I did the Google search. I was so excited. I love the Google search, right? So nutritional support for PTSD. I love green tea, top of the line. Who doesn't love that? Green tea helps boost your immune system, calms nerves, and ultimately reduces your stress and anxiety. So if we're talking about gut health, that's right in there, right? Right in there. Now I am going to only share this with you if you promise this next one to only do this under the doctor's supervision. So I need a promise that if I share this, you're going to only do it under the doctor's supervision. So Kava root is a strong muscle relaxer, and although it is natural, it is potency deems restricted in many countries. So it is a strong relaxing agent and should be taken with care, which is why it's important to always speak with your doctor before taking it. It comes in many forms. It comes in capsules, teas, and tinctures. And again, that was Kava root, but do ask your doctor before you try to take that one. Dong Quai. Okay, I knew that one was going to be difficult for me. Again, is another Chinese herb. It is used to regulate the body's adrenal glands and helps keep you calmer, preventing unwanted rapid heartbeats. This herb is a way to keep your nervous system healthy and functioning properly in general. So that was pretty cool. Chamomile tea. So if we're having trouble sleeping, this is a great plant that's often used to make a cup of tea. And helps, again, it affects your nervous system to help you relax and get a better night's sleep. It's recommended to drink a cup of tea as part of your bedtime routine to help you fully relax. Getting good sleep. So when we sleep, our brains actually kind of clean out. So that if we're not getting a good night's sleep, we're not getting that clean out and reset of our brain. So it's really, really important. So tips on getting a good night's sleep. I recommend creating a routine for sleep for yourself. For me, I have to be careful because I just want to play games on my phone until I pass out because I don't like my brain between the time the lights go out and I fall asleep. So protect yourself there. So if you create a routine and get yourself like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to listen to some meditative music. We're going to darken the bedroom as much as possible. We've limited the amount of time we have on our computer or cell phone or TV watching before bed because the lights from those screens actually make it harder for our brains to go to sleep. Giving that 20 minutes before bedtime to prepare your brain, and also avoiding caffeine. And then again, practicing different calming, like some meditation or yoga before bed really helps too.
A few deep breaths will do wonders to help you fall asleep. If you focus on breathing, deep breaths in and out, you'll be asleep in no time.
I used to just think I was really bad at falling asleep.
No.
I get that, like, literally is what I used to tell myself. So I would pretend and take deep breaths and pretend like my feet were floating. And once I could feel like my feet were floating, then I would move on to my calves. And so it would give me something to focus on while trying to fall asleep.
Mhm. It's
So
just a different form of meditation. You're
yeah,
just
I had
packaging it
no idea.
differently.
I would have told you I can't meditate.
Right?
I used to say that I don't know how to meditate, and then I learned, oh,
You just
I
focus
am
on one thing.
meditating all the time. I had no idea.
Right?
All right. When we're talking about nutritional support for depression as opposed to PTSD, we should ask what came first, the diet or the depression?
Have you ever noticed when you eat like crap, you feel like crap?
Legit.
It's like a huge thing. We found an article from Harvard Health that states the gist of it is eat plants and lots of them, including fruits and veggies, whole grains in processed form, ideally, seeds and nuts with some lean proteins like fish and yogurt. Avoid things made with added sugars, high in sugar, flours like breads, baked goods, cereals, pasta, things heavy in gluten, right? And minimize animal fats, processed meats. Sorry, bacon. I love bacon. But being able to limit that stuff, and butter. Butter is such a fatty thing. And here in the US, we love all these things we're not supposed to eat. Okay. Occasional intake of these quote unquote bad foods is probably fine, but remember everything in moderation, right? And for those who are trying to lose weight, you can't go wrong with colorful fruits and veggies. No one gets fat or gains weight eating berries and broccoli. Quality matters over quantity. Make sure your food is high quality, because what you are putting into your body is super, super important, because it's feeding you from the inside out, right? So quality over quantity. And when it comes to what we eat, quality really, really, really matters.
It really
Really does. So much of our food is processed now. Try to eat as much as you can. That's as the least amount of processed as possible.
The wholer the food, the better.
The wholer the food, the better. Yes, exactly.
So self-care and stress management. So practicing good self-care and stress management, engaging in light activity or exercise each day, spending more time in nature, not taking on more work than you can handle, and practicing the self-love skills. I really liked that this week we found a list with like 21 things you can do to self-care and show yourself that you're worthy every day for showing up. They're finding that people who eat 2 or more sources of dietary fiber are less likely to have PTSD than those who eat less fiber. I thought that was an interesting study.
That is interesting. That's new news to me. I learned something new today.
I think it has some, and I thought it was interesting that it was multiple sources of fiber, whole grain, whole food fiber, so not so processed. So it's a great opportunity for you to start to cultivate the version of yourself that feels healthy. So what does that look like for you?
Okay, mindset is a huge part of the puzzle. Mindset is a huge part of the puzzle. If you are not aware of your triggers, it's important to try to figure those out. What are those triggers? Because if you can figure out what your triggers are, and once you're aware of your triggers and you know what it feels like to be triggered, you have the opportunity to take control over yourself easier and with more practice. Sometimes triggers will still catch you off guard, which is part of the process of learning and PTSD and growing. Give yourself grace when this happens. Okay, it's really important. I love using Vivica or keen discernment to help myself refocus. Okay, and it just, using keen discernment. Is this thing serving me? Is this feeling this way beneficial to anybody? It's really important to be able to narrow that down.
Sometimes it's that I'm stuck and I can't make a decision. And
Mhm.
that is what I feel like Vivica's about, is just make the decision. It's going to be okay.
Mhm.
Like one way or another, just make a decision. Like we got to practice making decisions. Do you need to roll a dice? Pick one, do something. Don't stay stagnant.
Right.
Keep that energy flowing.
Another good way to help yourself is music. Music is therapy. Music is one of the quickest resources that you can go to. You can just turn on Pandora, make yourself a playlist that sets the right mindset. Okay.
Super important.
Super important. Create a
Don't
playlist.
play the country song that's going to make you cry.
Right.
Also, don't play the war song that's going to amp you up more.
Right. If you're already angry, pay attention to what you're listening to, pay attention to what you're reading, pay attention to what you're watching on TV. If the news makes you mad, which for most of us right now it does, turn it off.
Right.
Step away.
It's going to be okay.
It's
Also,
gonna
too,
be okay.
especially during this time, watch what you're watching. Like, what show are you binge watching every night? Because I would say a lot of us are binge watchers.
Mhm.
We'll put on a show and right, Netflix, all of that, like right, on demand stuff. So if you're watching a show that is dark and depressive during the dark and depressive season, and then you're dark and depressed, I'm not saying go to Hallmark shows, but find something a little middle ground, right?
Right.
So I'm careful not to watch Supernatural during this time of the year
Mhm.
because it is so dark and it can get so depressive, and I will get sucked right into that energy and I won't even realize it.
Right.
But last year I made a real point to myself for the 2 months, for November and December, that I was going to be careful about what I watched, that it was going to bring joy into my life. Like it was like I had a reason for watching it. Right. So I made sure, and it really.
And we love Jensen Ackles and Jared
I love them
Padalecki
so much. That
right?
doesn't mean I'm not going to look at their memes. Does not mean that I'm not going to share
we're just not
their
gonna
love.
watch some
I just
Supernatural
can't
for
watch
a couple
the
of months, right?
actual shows during that time.
Right. And then also start moving. Move your body. Movement is key. One of the things that I dealt with my PTSD and depression was I would get these migraines and they would last several days, and I would be in bed for 3 or 4 days, and that increased the depression. It increased the all those negative effects.
Everything is all held because now
Mhm.
you can't move. You're in one spot.
Mhm.
Your energy is just right there. You're not moving that energy. It's staying
Right.
with you. I mean, energetically, just thinking about that, like
Mhm.
even having somebody do Reiki on you would be better than doing nothing. Right.
Right. And if all you do in a day, or all you can handle in a day, is to just get up, take a shower, and get dressed, that's fine.
Put on clean clothes.
Put on some clean clothes. That will make you feel so much better. And then, also try a meditation. But some days, and we all have them.
I think once you take the one step, like you get up and you put clothes on. You get up and you put a pair of jeans on and tie your tennis shoes. You get up and then you go for a walk. You get up, you tie your shoes, you go for a walk, you do a meditation. You get up, you go for a walk, you do a meditation, you phone a friend. So it kind of builds on each other. So once you start moving, the energy, the momentum will help you.
Yep. And that goes into that whole universal energy. What an object
in motion
tends to stay in motion, and that goes for us as well. Okay. So keep moving. Move the body. Movement is unbelievably important to our bodies and our minds. So many disease processes start from lack of movement.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the next things you can do for yourself is to really have a sense of belonging. Community provides a sense of belonging. A group you can identify with as being part of. This is different than conforming to be in group. So hear the difference. Identity as being a part of versus conforming to be in the group. So someplace you can show up and be yourself, be you. A true sense of belonging includes the ability for you to feel you are part of the community as your true self. There is not anything you have to change to be part of this community, but instead you are embraced and appreciated for your new unique qualities. And I think that is huge, that sense of belonging. And it just creates the joy that makes it bigger than the darkness. So it makes your light bigger the more joy you have. And joy comes from gratitude, it comes from connection,
Uplifting.
Yeah.
And we
not feeling like you can't be you. That's negative, right? That's dark. But when you can just be you, you show up in the light, and then your light starts to grow and be bigger.
Right. It's that inner light of awareness.
Absolutely.
Let your light shine, people. Support. Who do you turn to when you need something? Having people you can call on when you need to talk or need help with something can help you through difficult situations that might feel insurmountable alone.
You can't see what's on the other side of the mountain if you can't get to the top.
Right. Knowing that there are people who support you can help you feel cared for and safe, and can benefit your outlook on life. So really building community is a big part of what we do and why we do it. We have a huge heart for building community and building relationships with women. Many of our guests that we've had so far, we plan on having them back because we're building that community. And we'd love to have more people join that community with us. So
community gives you a sense of purpose, and people fill different roles within a community. Perhaps you're a friend who enjoys cooking. You can be counted on to bring a hot meal over when someone's going through something, or you're a friend who knows they can call when you need someone to talk to with your struggles. Who do you go to vent? Are they going to take you on a spiral, or are they going to let you have your moment and then be like, okay, chin up, let's go? These roles can give you a sense of purpose through bettering other people's lives. Having purpose and helping others helps us give meaning to life.
Right. And that's exactly why we're doing what we're doing.
Exactly. I absolutely love this.
Okay.
All right. Resource time.
What can you do if you think you might have PTSD or depression? Ask for help. PTSD resources are available. Many resources. PTSD Alliance members.
So there's a website, and we have it on the link tree too. So PTSD Alliance.
Yep.
So there are a whole list of
There's a whole list of things. There's a 24-hour hotline for women in abusive situations. There's links to PTSD mobile coaching apps from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. However, I believe regular citizen, you don't have to be a veteran to use these apps.
There's some specifically for veterans, and then there are some not. So there's a safe place for veterans to have all of their own, and then there's safe places for the rest of us.
ADAA provides a directory of local mental health professionals. They also let you search for PTSD support groups in your area, walk you through the steps to start your own support group if there isn't one local. There's another program that provides a clinician directory that allows you to search for mental health professionals based on your location, doctor specialty, special interests, demographic, and language. The Cedron Institute, another resource, offers a help desk to find personalized, compassionate support.
so they can kind of bridge that for you. So the Department of Veterans Affairs wants us to remember, if you are in crisis, you have options. First option, call 911. Option 2, go to the nearest emergency room. Option 3, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. The phone number is 1-800-273-8255. Or you can call the Veteran Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255. Press 1. Or I like this option, send a text. And you can text 838255. Again, that text number is 838255. They also have an online chat, and we will be including all those links in our podcast description. You can click on them, a whole resource section. Thank you so much, Charlie, with Warrior Yoga. Thank you for your service to our country, to our community, and your commitment to continuing to build community. You are embracing what yoga means to you, and not just through movement, but also through education and connection to the community. Thank you so much, Charlie.
And thank you, Heather, for your wellness knowledge, and how we can learn to support our bodies with what we put in our bodies, those natural ingredients, those teas, and just really being able to take care of our bodies from the inside out.
It's so important. Nutrition, the reason why I got into this was for myself, and nourishing our bodies with vitamins and minerals is needed every day. Our food is not what it used to be 50 years ago.
No.
And so wellness is also so much more than just taking your supplements. It's about movement and hydration and sleep and self-care. On my journey, I've lost over 170 pounds, and now I'm looking to take off another 50 more, and another 50 of unhealthy pounds, and really learn what it feels like to be healthy. And I'm so excited to share this journey and be working with you. If anybody would like to contact me to talk about what I could do to help them with their journey, my number is 360-722-9104. You can also find my information in our link tree.
I'd like to take a moment to thank today's podcast sponsors, Warrior Yoga, Heather Ross, Wellness Ambassador, the October Company, and HEMA Forge Virtual Gaming. Thank you, HEMA Forge Virtual Gaming, so much for sponsoring our podcast. Us and our listeners, thank you for cleaning up the sound and helping us be heard more clearly. We're excited for your alpha testing that is closing on November 28th. If you're open to being honored with being a part of creating this virtual gaming experience, be sure to email hemaforgevirtualgaming@gmail.com or contact us directly, and we'll get you in touch with them. Additionally, we want to also thank HEMA Forge Virtual Gaming CEO and founder for his service to our country as well. He is also a military veteran. From our families, the Women in Leadership, Body, Mind, Soul, and Business, wish to extend our gratitude to all veterans and military listening for your service to our country. Happy Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day. So be sure to follow us on social media at Women in Leadership BSMB, and listen to us wherever your podcasts are available. We should be just about everywhere now.
If you have a favorite podcast place that we're not, let us know, and we will see what we can do about getting listed there. If you are interested in being part of our podcast and being a guest, please email us at womeninleadershipbsmb@gmail.com. We'll send you the information and we'll move on to the next steps. We're looking forward to connecting and building relationships with more community leaders.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's special edition of the Women in Leadership Body, Mind, Soul, and Business podcast. We'll see you next time.
Namaste.